Hey everybody, BLF9's here. Some Pokemon Go today. This is a long-awaited video. This will help a lot of people. A lot of people have been asking me, where's my favorite places to spoof? Well, this is my top 20 list. All around the world, I'll include the chords from my research of playing spoofing around the world. This is my top 20, and let's get this going. Naturally, I'm going to start at my favorite spots that I go to most, but all top 20 I go to pretty frequently. Each of them have different special things that can make them special. Some are just a solid nest, where if the nest is a good Pokemon, it's a really good place to go. Can be lure parties, etc. I'll explain more each one as I go. So I'll go to each location, teleport there, show you a quick example of what's going on and what I do there, and then move on to the next one. So this should be very helpful to most of you. I've seen some of these videos on YouTube from other people, and a lot of it is wasted time and just like very pointless. Oh, there's 3 Skarmories over here and a Whalmer. This is good spawns. Maybe go over here type stuff. I've done a lot of research. I've played a lot of spoofing. These are by far some of the best spots. There will be some other ones obviously, so I encourage you to throw the comments below. And if you find some solid Pokemon spawns, etc., then just put them in the comments, the chords, and eventually I'll make another video of my favorites from the comments, because I'll obviously haven't explored everywhere in the world. If you're a spoofer, you can go anywhere you want, literally anywhere you want. So I know there's other secret places, maybe Russia, random city has a really good spot, who knows. So feel free, comment below. This is all about the community, right? So let's get going. San Francisco is our first stop. Pier 39 is where I go to when I go to San Francisco, which most people are the same. As you can tell by all these lures, it's almost, not almost, it is always lured on this pier. There's a bunch of spawns of Pokemon, and it's a really good go-to. I've made a quick GPX here, and I'll show you a couple of the main spots in San Francisco, but basically everywhere in the tip of San Francisco is really good. Like if you just go from along the piers, you could just search San Francisco and find for yourself, but most areas is pretty lit with Pokemon and people who are other spoofers, etc. So any raids nearby is going to have guaranteed people in them to hit. You could always rely on that. So if you're looking for people to hit raids with, this is an easy way to go. Just go to San Francisco. And I'll just show you some of the more spawns here. It is a lot of water Pokemon, but obviously it's still a mix of, like, every time there's an event, they just take over all the spawns, right? So this is just general tons of spawns mixed in with lures as well, so extra spawns with the lures. This is my GPX. It's pretty basic. I usually shundo hunt and then go back here, walk, and then keep hunting, that type of thing. As you see, that pier right here has a bunch of Pokemon. I basically went through and saw where Pokemon spawn, just walked around there, walk around the big loop, and then kind of zigzag when there's a lot of Pokemon. Because sometimes you don't really know, you only see 2 stops out here, but what do you know, there's like 20 to 30 Pokemon on this pier. And there's a lot of clumps like this, so as you see there, you could just sit there and catch a whole bunch. But that's my GPX. You could just go to the middle of San Fran, you can see that there's still just stops everywhere. So like, you see San Francisco here, the whole tip there is pretty good. You see this park right here? It's a pretty good nest. It is pretty massive, so like you can see there's clusters of stops that are better than some of the open spaces, but even the open spaces are gonna have a decent amount of Pokemon. And like if it's a Ghastly nest or a Pikachu nest, there's gonna be tons in there, right? So you can just walk around that whole park and just get all the, look for the shiny that you're looking for. Like if a Pokemon that can be shiny nests, because not all Pokemon are spawn in nests, but the dark green areas are the most common nests, and they'll feature one Pokemon. You could Google what Pokemon spawn in nests if you are curious. But as you can see there, Oracle Park was pretty good. You can walk around there, basically walk around, just walk along the piers. But you see here, Pier 50, there's not even a stop on here, but there's literally like 50 spawns of Pokemon all around here. So you never know what you'll come across while searching and checking things out in Pokemon GO, spoofing around. So Pier 50, as you can see, has a ton of Pokemon. So I'm not going to go this long with each location, but San Fran is obviously probably my favorite. Tons of spoofer traffic, people that'll raid with you, tons of Pokemon, lured up stops. So let's go on to the next. Paris, France is going to be our next stop. It's going to be the Paris Mall. It's a very common place for spoofers to go to. Like, if you're just looking to straight up catch a lot of Pokemon and spin a lot of stops and don't care about exploring, this is the place for you. As you can see, it's absolutely loaded with lured up stops, which goes in hand with tons of Pokemon. Usually it's pretty crappy Pokemon, but if you're just straight up Stardust grinding or just looking for Pokemon, event spawns, whatever, this is another good place to go. Tons of spawns, tons of Pokemon. I wouldn't really venture too far away. You could if you want, obviously, but like just sticking to this loop is the best place to chill here for straight up Pokemon grabs. So let's go on to the next one. Next up is Navy Pier, Chicago. We're gonna go there. So I'll show you here on the map. There's Chicago. Chicago's really good to go to in general. Like Lincoln Park Zoo is a really good place. Lincoln Park itself is a really good place to go. Grant Park is a really good place to go. Soldier Field is a good nest. The Field Museum, all the way around here, is pretty good. And there's stops all over the city here, so like Chicago's another one of my favorites, obviously a really good place to go to. And as you see, Navy Pier, loaded with Pokemon all the time, just tons of Pokies. And walking all the way down the pier, you'll get a lot of Pokies as well. All the way down there. So that's a solid place to go to as well. On to the next one. That's Pokemon. We're gonna go to Tokyo. Tokyo is one of my favorites to go to in regards to research, because if you're looking to just get hatch 5 eggs for 3 rare candy research and load those up, or just looking for better research, Tokyo seems to be a really solid place to do it. And with my time zone, I'm usually getting research around midnight, and that sucks if you're on the west coast, so I tend to go over here to kind of get a different time zone for myself at midnight. And Hibiya Park is a really good nest here. As you see, that's my GPX. I just kind of go up, down, and blah 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 blah. Hibiyakoen. I'm sure I pronounced it wrong, but it's a really good place to go. I found a shiny Sneasel here once, good memories. Shiny Scyther as well. Also a shiny Pineco. I've had good luck in this area. But as you see all around Tokyo, there's stops everywhere. Like anywhere in Tokyo is good to go. Look at all those stops. Like, it's crazy. I love going to Tokyo. Tokyo is great stuff. So if you get gifts from me, they're probably from Tokyo. Or some other places. To be honest, I go to a lot of places, you could tell by this big list, so let's go on to the next one. Next one is Disneyland Anaheim. So quick tip, pretty much any amusement park is probably going to be pretty good. There are some that are better than others, that's why I'm showing you these ones, but just if you're locked somewhere, try and find an amusement park. They're usually pretty good. As well as zoos and botanical gardens, both tend to be very good nests and full of stops and Pokemon spawns as well, so keep an eye out for those. So here's Disneyland Anaheim. As you can tell, there's tons of stops, cool stops, right? Disneyland places. Get out here. And there's basically like 2 big clusters. There's my GPX of it. But like, big cluster on this down here. and then a big cluster up here. But they basically work together as one big cluster, so that's a really good place to go. And lots of hundos and stuff spawn around California. So if you find a hundo or shundo and want to find somewhere close by to catch Pokemon after, this is usually a good place to go. So enough at Disneyland. Let's go on to Disney World. Surprise, that's good too. That's over in Orlando, Florida. Where is it? There it is. There we go, loaded up. Doesn't seem as big, but like trust me, you could walk all the way around and come back and you'll have fresh spawns, so it really doesn't need to be that much bigger than this. Nice clustered up stops with tons of Pokemon around, cool stops. If you're in Florida somewhere, you could come down here, right? Depending on weather too, you never know. Raids, people are going to be hitting these up, obviously. Lots of people in Disneyland, Disney World. So that's another good place to go. On to the next one. Alright, next one's Seoul, South Korea. So let's go back to our list here. This is a list that I created. You could go and create one with all the chords that I've made. And then it'll kind of look like this. You can name them whatever you want, obviously. Here we go. Lotte World and Magic Island. Sometimes I've found it foggy here, which is cool. Cool place to have a little foggy area that's pretty bumping. You see those nests that's Magic Island up there on the top of the screen. And this is Lotte World. Probably pronouncing that wrong too. But like these gyms have like 3 gyms on one spot. Like it's super funky. There's lots going on around here. Lots of things on the exact same spot, you know, funky stuff. But all around here is a nest with all the spots. Lots of people hang out down here and hit up raids and stuff. So Lotte World's a pretty good one to go to. Also nearby in Seoul, South Korea, there was an event here. One sec here. Starfield Coex Mall. It's alright, but I'd rather go to Lotte World. But as you can see, there's a good amount of stops up here too. There we go. So that's where you want to go. Good place in Seoul, South Korea. On to the next one. Next one's in Singapore. That's a Pokemon again. Singapore's a pretty cool place to go to. The Botanical Gardens over there is a really good nest. Like big nest full of whatever Pokemon that is currently featured. So I'll show you here. Basically all the way up, all the way down. This one isn't dark green like most of the nests are. But you can still see all the stops and gyms. I'll show you on the map view here. It looks like a nest on the map at least. Look at all those stops. Like this is one of my favorite nests to go to. Like if there's a Ghastly nest here, you could walk up and down here and just check Ghastly after Ghastly after Ghastly. You get the idea. This is a good place to go to. Singapore Botanical Gardens. And also if you want to switch it up, if you're over in Singapore, I believe up here, yeah, Universal Studios Singapore. I'm sure the city's pretty decent too, but like these two areas kind of kick it out of the water, so why really go anywhere else? Kick it out of the water, I don't know where that came from. You can see all the stops there, tons of stops. And to go with that, tons of Pokemon. Obviously they go hand in hand. Not all the time, but when there's this many stops, you can guarantee a popular area like that. Universal Studios Singapore will be busy as hell. If there was a lot of shitty people in the world, I guess. Anyways, on to the next one, which is Hawaii. We're going to Honolulu. And the reason this is a good one is because it's the last time zone in the world, so if you're using time zones to your advantage to do daily streaks or use community day later, the latest it'll go is over in Hawaii. So like Honolulu is the most popular area in Hawaii, so that's why I'm showing you this. So when you're over in Hawaii doing community day, this is kind of where you want to go. I advise going to the Honolulu Zoo and kind of walking all up the coast here. The Ala Moana Center Mall is pretty good, and all around here is pretty bumping, especially during community day. Every stop's lured up down here, so I usually start at the zoo here. Pretty good nest even if you're just chilling down here, and you can walk along the coast there. Pretty nice place. Like I said, time zones, it can come in handy. I will make a video on time zones eventually if you're kind of confused there, but remember, last time zone is this, Hawaii, but Honolulu is the recommended city to go to in Hawaii. Anyways, on to the next one, which is over in Denmark. I keep going to the Pokemon list. It's just a habit, I like going there. So let's go down our list here. There we go. It's over in Copenhagen. It's called Fisketorvet Mall. That was horrible. Sorry anyone who lives over there. I'm working on my Danish. But anyways, you can see here, nice cluster of stops that are usually lured up. Lots of spoofers come down here to hang out and chill and stuff. I find there wasn't as many regular Pokemon that spawn, but hey, still pretty nice area. You can guarantee to hit some raids. Depending on the weather, you could check it out. You never know. Pretty nice place to go. Copenhagen. On to the next one. Next on the list is going to be Taipei City. This is all of Taiwan, the country of Taiwan is really good, but Taipei City is by far the best place to go there. I usually start in Dan Park. This place here. You see lots of stops everywhere you go. From every angle there's stops. And it's pretty much like that everywhere in Taipei City. All the way from like over here, I believe. Like you can pretty much just free walk around Taipei and have a good time. See tons of stops. So all Taipei. There's Dan Park right in the middle. That's usually where I start, but all the way up there, all the way in New Taipei, all of it's just loaded with stops. It's a really good place to go. Lots of hundos pop up there too. This is the country of Taiwan. It's at the top here. Tainan is pretty good too. Most of Taiwan is pretty good, but Taipei is by far as good as it gets for Pokestops everywhere. Just loaded. So on to the next one after this. Alright, so the next one is going to be Times Square, New York. Wow, every time I'm going to Pokemon. Sorry about that. All of New York is pretty good, pretty solid. Here's my crazy GPX of... I just auto GPX'd it at Times Square, and this is what it gave me. Those are all stops. You see Central Park, huge nest, tons of stops up here. But like all of New York here is pretty good. So always a good place to start. Times Square, you see if there's a good Pokemon nesting here, it's a good place to hang out. Huge nest. Really solid place, New York. Lots of spoofers hang out here too. On to our next one. This one's going to be in Brazil, changing it up, going over to the Rio Zoo in Rio de Janeiro. And you see here, pretty nice zoo. Pretty good nest, full of stops. So if you're over in Brazil, this is a good place to hang out. Usually raining too. You can find some Heracross. You can find some other regionals over here. And some other Pokemon, different types of stops. There's lots of cool stops in Brazil, lots of graffiti and stuff. I find it pretty cool to look at. So Brazil, Rio Zoo, good place to go. Next one is going to be the Canary Islands in Spain. Or they say it belongs to Spain, but it's kind of far away from Spain. But like if you want a lot of stops to spin, this is a good place to go. So here's Spain up here. We go down over here by Western Sahara. And here's the Canary Islands, and we want to go up to this little tip up here. And you see all along the coast is just loaded with stops. So if you haven't been here, you could just pop a lucky egg and walk, and just keep walking all the way around, like all the way up and back down the left here. You'll see once it loads up. There we go. So tons of stops coming up. You could go all the way up there, come back and go back down the right there, and it just keeps going. Tons of new stops. You could get a lot of experience that way. Obviously lots of Pokespawns too. It's a nice place just to hang out. So Canary Islands in Spain, good place to hang. Next one, we're going to go over to New Zealand, which is one of the earliest time zones. I usually hang out in Auckland. There's Auckland and Wellington are the two most popular places there. So this is my favorite place, and most other spoofers' favorite place to go in New Zealand is Queen's Wharf. There's lots of Pokemon that spawn around here. Lots of stops too, raids, etc. Good place to hang out if you want to hang out in New Zealand, either here or down in Wellington. Because if you're looking for hundos, sometimes they'll be in Auckland, sometimes they'll be down in Wellington. I don't go to Christchurch very often, but like Wellington's pretty good. So New Zealand, those are two places to go, but I advise going to Auckland if you have a choice. Next one's going to be in Australia. The Sydney Opera House. That was one of my OG places to go as a spoofer. It was cool to just travel the world, and then I found the Opera House and it was just loaded with stops and Pokemon everywhere. Early time zone too, right? So you could kind of screw around with that stuff. But as you see here, I call these the little docks. And then I call these the big docks. Just got some history here. Tons of stops. Huge nest. Hyde Park is a nice nest. I remember it being an Electabuzz back then. I found that pretty cool. Don't need those candy anymore, so it's not that cool. You can't be shiny in the wild. But it's not going to be an Electabuzz probably now. It's just a cool nest. But all around here, Sydney Opera House is right here on the tip. Tons of spawns out here on Benelong Point. So have fun in Sydney, Australia if you want to go hang out there. Next one on the list is Osaka, Japan. It's a really good nest over in Osaka Castle Park. It's like one of my favorite nests. It's really funky setup. Has a bunch of water everywhere. You can see all these stops. Lots of places, lots of gyms for raids to go down. And you see that big nest there? That's a pretty cool nest, if you ask me. I'm sure the rest of Osaka, Japan has lots of stops and stuff for you to do too. But Osaka Castle right here, that place is bumping. Next one is going to be the Santa Monica Pier. I honestly haven't gone here too many times, but I know it's pretty popular for spoofers. So I'll show you that. So here's kind of a little deeper in. That's where the stops kind of start getting clustered. Alright, so down here is where it starts getting clustered, but here's the pier. Kind of walk up and down here. Lots of stops are going to be lured up and stuff. There's tons of Pokemon all along the walkway. So pretty cool place to hang out. I don't hang out here too often, But as you can see there's a lot of Pokemon. Maybe I should hang out here more often, you know? After doing this, maybe I will actually. Pretty nice looking. Alright, on to the next one. It's gonna be the last one on this list. Psych, there's 2 more on this list. New Orleans Botanical Gardens and City Park is the next one. So let's hop on down there to New Orleans. You see how big this is? Get out of here, eggs. See how big this is for a nest? Tons of stops, so if there's a cool Pokemon nest in there, New Orleans Botanical Garden is the place to hang. The City Park I'm sure is pretty good too, but I just stick to the Botanical Gardens. It's nice and clumped up there. Don't really need to venture much farther than that, so if it's a good nest, go down there. Now on to our last one. The last one's going to be in Sao Paulo, Brazil, and it's actually kind of cool. It's a cemetery, and it's clustered up with tons of stops in a little nest area, and during events and stuff, they're usually all lured up too, so there's just tons of Pokemon to catch in a small area. It's actually really neat. Be cool if more ghost Pokemon spawn there, but I don't think that's the case. But as you can see here, there's tons of goodness to enjoy over here. So there's my top 20. Hope you enjoyed my list. It's tons of good places to go to, tons of stops, good nests, tons of Pokemon, lots of places to raid and spin new stops, cool places to check out around the world. I hope you enjoyed it. Remember, I encourage you to comment below if you find other cool places. I will check those out and make a video compiled of my favorites later in the future. And remember, zoos, botanical gardens, universities, amusement parks, airports, ferry terminals, those places are all usually pretty good. So if you go to a major city, you're going to want to go to one of those places and then find one of those areas, and you should be good to go and at least hang out a bit. But if you could get to one of the top 20 on my list here, I suggest doing that because they're all bumping places. So thanks for watching, everyone. I'll see you in my other videos, and if this helped you out and you want to help me out, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, and I'll keep going with videos for you guys to enjoy and watch and help you grow as Pokemon trainers. See you later.